Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Welcome to the launch of Keep Safe Miami. We have a fantastic program in store for you all today. We are so happy that Mayor Francis X. Suarez has joined us. To begin us, then we're going to move to a series of presentations by leadership from across Miami, Miami-Dade, and Miami Beach. And then we will conclude with a panel led by the Chief Resiliency Officer of Miami, Alan Dodd, featuring leadership involved in Keep Safe Miami and making Miami a more resilient and safer place. We will be opening chat as soon as we move through the program. Now I would like to formally welcome the Mayor of Miami, Francis X. Suarez, 43rd Mayor of Miami. Welcome.
Thank you, Laurie. It's an incredible honor to be here with all of you, and we're so thankful for this announcement and this collaboration, which we've been working on with, of course, our Resilient 305 partners, understanding that our goal in Miami is not just to make sure that we have a Miami that's here forever, which is important, of course, making sure that our city is resistant and resilient to any kind of not just climatic events, but also economic shocks, pandemics, and other kinds of earth-shattering events that can disrupt the way that we live and our quality of life. But we also want to make sure that Miami is here for everyone. We want to make sure that we don't exacerbate the stratification and the income inequality that we see, not just in Miami, but in cities throughout the United States and throughout the world. I've often said and beginning to say that income inequality is the challenge of my generation. And I believe that it is. And I think that it's going to take collaborations like the one that we're discussing here today with the private sector, the public sector, the philanthropic sector, and innovators in our community to come up with social equity solutions that are going to guarantee that the Miami that we create today and tomorrow is a Miami that we can be proud of and a Miami that will serve all Miamians.
Thank you so much, Mayor Suarez. We appreciate your leadership and your partnership on our program today. We are now joined by a range of media partners from across Miami. So I would like to now ask if the Miami Herald has any questions for Mayor Suarez. WFOR News.
Sorry about that. This is Alex Harris with the Miami Herald. I was unable to ask a question for a moment, but Mayor Suarez, do you, when you're talking about this Keep Safe Miami program, how is it going to help local landowners and landlords keep their buildings safe?
Well, the Keep Safe Miami program offers up to $500,000 in terms of its the entirety of the program to help identify where there are vulnerabilities in a particular real estate portfolio and to help tenants understand what retrofits need to be made to buildings to be able to keep those tenants there and prevent gentrification, which we see happening pre-climate, pre-pandemic, but it's certainly accelerating, not just with climate-related issues and with the pandemic, but it's also accelerating with the mass migration that we see happening from other parts of the country and other parts of the world. So we have to be very intentional in terms of our investment in making sure that we can do everything that we can to prevent that. We've done some of that through the Miami Forever Bond, but a partnership like this is one where we can continue to deliver on the promise of keeping properties affordable and preventing our residents from having to leave based on gentrification pressures.
Can you explain a little bit more about how this program could prevent gentrification? I know the city is the first in the country to study the potential impact of climate gentrification, and there have been some ideas suggested like changing tax policy. How does this program specifically address that risk?
Well, what it does is it gives, first of all, it gives some training to tenants on disaster preparation, which is something that I think is important to make sure that they are protecting their properties and that they are protecting their own personal property as well. It also, it's a new set of resources that developers and owners of affordable housing, homes, apartments and homes can use to create an audit tool to help property owners identify vulnerabilities in their portfolios and individual properties that guide them into how to access capital for making the necessary upgrades to minimize the impact of weather events. And so, obviously we're going to hopefully be able to leverage these dollars with some of our Miami Forever dollars. We had set aside, for example, $4 million in our Miami Forever bond to deal with climate resilient impacts, specifically related to homes and making sure that people can make energy efficient retrofits to their home as a grant program. So this is something that potentially we can layer on in commercial properties so that their tenants are not being forced through upgrades to have to leave the places that they're in, and particularly in naturally occurring affordable housing stock that we have.
And this tool that will show them the funding options, obviously some of these are probably federal grants you can go for, state grants you can go for. Besides the $4 million set aside in the Miami Forever bond, what other city resources financially are going towards retrofitting some of these buildings?
We have, as part of our climate resilience entire bond program, we have the ability to do up to $100 million worth of climate resilient infrastructure fixes, right? So we have 100 million on the affordable housing side, and we have 200 million on the climate resiliency side. On the affordable housing side, we've been focusing mostly right now on building new stock, which obviously is also climate resilient, because anything that's built in today's day and age is going to be a climate resilient building. On the 200 million, we have the option of either investing in infrastructure or potentially investing in upgrading buildings that have naturally occurring affordable housing units in it to make sure that they remain that way. We did that with CRA funds, both with Town Park, and we just recently did it with a development that we CO'd in late December. It's important for us to be comprehensive in terms of what we do, because the most precious asset that we have right now in our city is land. And it seems like there's an infinite amount of capital that's chasing that asset, which inevitably will drive up prices if we do nothing to try to prevent that from happening. And that's why I think we're so intentional and so grateful to have tools like this and to be working on partnerships like these that give us more resources to better leverage the resources that we do have that we can put to work.
Thank you, Alex, from the Miami Herald. I'd like to now ask if Sabrina from WFOR has any questions for Mayor Suarez. Okay, moving to Chris from WSVN. Would you like to ask any questions? Okay, WPLG, Carrie Weston or Guadalupe. Okay, we have time for one more question. So News Radio 610. Catherine from The Real Deal, would you like to ask any questions? Okay, thank you so much, Mayor Suarez. We are at Enterprise Community Partners elated to be in partnership with you and your incredible team. We wish you all the best and thank you for your leadership on this most important topic in Miami.
Thank you so much. I guess my presentation was so comprehensive that there wasn't that many questions. but listen, I want to thank Alex from the Miami Herald in particular for asking such good questions and for being so insightfully interested in this topic, because I think it is important that we continue to talk about this, that we continue to focus on it, and that we be intentional about it. And I think the media has a role to play in that, in helping us tell our story and making sure and holding us accountable at times.
Thank you, Mayor Suarez.
Have a good one.
Now I'm so happy and honored to present Jacqueline Wagner, President of Solutions from Enterprise Community Partners. Thank you, Jacqueline.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Laurie. Thank you, Mayor Suarez. I'm so glad to be able to join you all today because Keep Safe Miami is so exciting. Launching it means everyone here, and especially the housing providers who will participate in the program, is doing the work. This is about making homes truly resilient, keeping them affordable, and protecting families and communities from impacts of our changing climate. Nothing could be more urgent. Enterprise Community Partners is working to create a country where home and community are stepping stones to more. We know from 40 years of working at the national level and communities across the country that we can't do that without addressing climate resilience. In Miami and across the country, rising temperatures are causing climate disasters that are more frequent and cause more damage to people, housing, and infrastructure. In 2020, there were 25 weather events that each caused over $1 billion in damages, up from 18 the year before. That includes 9 hurricanes. In the past 15 years, millions of American homes have been damaged or destroyed by weather-related disasters. From Hurricane Katrina in the Gulf Coast to Superstorm Sandy in the Northeast to the wildfires in California, we've seen firsthand what happens when communities aren't prepared for the next disaster. And climate events don't impact everybody equally. We know that disasters disproportionately affect low-income communities and people of color. Poor communities and communities of color have the least access to institutions and resources to help them mitigate risk and prepare for the effects of climate change, and are more likely to live in areas and structures exposed to hazards. And all of the inequities in our communities have been exacerbated by COVID-19. This is true in Miami and in so many other cities nationwide. We have work to do. Affordable multifamily housing is a lifeline for tens of millions of households across the country. Stable, secure housing supports better health outcomes, economic mobility, and employability. But there is a severe shortage of homes that are affordable or available to low-income renters, and many of those homes are at risk. We need to plan not just for the storms coming this month or this year, but for the next year, 5 years from now, and the next generation. By increasing resiliency in our homes and communities, we preserve the supply of affordable homes. We can counteract those inequities that put the most vulnerable people in harm's way, and we can protect against the impacts of climate disasters. That's why we're so glad Miami is taking this seriously, and that's why Keep Safe Miami is so important. We are bringing in the best of tools and strategies we have before a disaster hits, so we can prevent the loss of life, mass displacement, and billions of dollars in damages that too many communities have suffered. If you own or manage a multifamily affordable housing property in Miami-Dade County, or if you know someone who does, please visit www.enterprisecommunity.org/keepsafemiami to register and begin the enrollment process. It's completely free investment in the future of your community and your city. We couldn't do this work without partners. I want to thank Mayor Suarez and the City of Miami Resilience and Public Works team, as well as the Department of Housing and Community Development, for working alongside us to launch Keep Safe Miami. I also want to thank the full team that came together to lend their expertise in resilience, building science, and affordable housing to create the program. Thanks to South Florida Community Development Coalition, Florida Housing Coalition, Communities United, Miami-Dade County, IBTS, and Dreaming Green. I'm going to turn it back to my colleague, Laurie Showman, to keep things moving. But again, please register for Keep Safe Miami. Enterprise and our partners are here to work with you to preserve your homes and communities. And this program brings together the best resources we have to protect against changing climate. Thank you all, and good day.
Thank you so much, President Wagner. I'd like to now introduce Maria Scorcia, Vice President of Jpmorgan Chase, Florida, our partner on this program. Maria.
Thank you, Laurie, and good morning, everyone. First, I want to acknowledge and thank Mayor Suarez for his leadership in this very important issue. Thank you also to Jacqueline and Enterprise Community Partners for your work in developing this tool. As we know, and as Jacqueline just mentioned, communities around the world are struggling to manage the impacts of natural disasters, such as severe weather and wildfires, which are being exacerbated by climate change. At Jpmorgan Chase, we continue to work hard to help communities prepare to withstand these threats. In addition to our longstanding commitment to promoting inclusive economic growth, in 2019, our firm made a commitment to help certain at-risk communities, including Miami, become more resilient in the face of a natural disaster. The tool being launched today is part of this commitment, and we are proud to be a funder and a thought partner to this work. As we have heard today, Keep Safe Miami will help developers and property owners understand and mitigate vulnerabilities to climate change and natural disasters, and provide them with actionable strategies and guidance to address these vulnerabilities. And this is important because the tool will empower communities to take action and make important decisions in reducing the impact of extreme weather events, especially on our most vulnerable communities. And we know that natural disasters disproportionately impact the most vulnerable. We at Jpmorgan Chase are proud of the work being discussed today and the work to come through our successful partnership with Enterprise Community Partners and the City of Miami. Thank you so much for being here today. And with that, back to you, Laurie.
Thank you so much, Maria, for your partnership and your vision. Now I'd like to welcome Suzanne Burns, who is the Southeast Sustainability Directors Network Director and a partner on the Keep Safe program. Suzanne.
Thank you, Laurie, and good morning, Mayor Suarez and the Keep Safe Miami team, members of the press and the community. It's an honor to be with you this morning in such a timely and exciting launch of work that we know will have a real difference in the lives of Miami, Florida, and Southeastern residents for years to come. My name is Suzanne Burns, and I'm here this morning representing Southeast Sustainability Directors Network, or SSDN. SSDN connects local government sustainability professionals throughout the region to accelerate, scale, and implement sustainable best practices so that our communities are equipped to adapt to and mitigate climate change. Through our Southeast Sustainability Communities Fund, we've helped 17 communities across the South in the last 3 years to advance efforts that mitigate or adapt to climate change through sustainable energy and water initiatives, focusing on integration of equity, leveraging community partnerships, strengthening local government commitment, and demonstrating scalable solutions and innovation. We ask our grantees to be bold and courageous, and we are so delighted when collaborations like Keep Safe Miami rise to the enormity of climate change challenges with strong leadership, clear vision, technical expertise, and powerful community partnerships. This initiative is on track to have immediate impact for hundreds of families at a time when that support is so desperately needed, as the other speakers have certainly highlighted today in these COVID times. We could not be at a more pivotal moment to get resources to these families. And critically, this support will not just reduce the immediate energy burden for these families, but will increase their ability to adapt to an uncertain future and climate. And at the same time, this program we see is really building a model that is widely scalable and adaptable to vulnerable multifamily community residents, not just in Florida, but across the region. We're particularly excited to see Keep Safe Miami take on what has been a really complex challenge of efficiency and the business case around that in a multifamily residential environment. This is something that has been a challenge across the US for far too long. We look forward to continued partnership with the team in the year ahead and to lifting up this model for the entire South. So congratulations on the launch today, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Suzanne, for your partnership and your confidence in us. Now I'd like to turn to Sarah Haas, who's the director of the Enterprise Community Southeast Office and also a champion of this program.
Great. Thanks, Laurie. And thanks, everyone. I'm really excited to have the opportunity to tell you about the tools themselves, which would not have been possible without the support of the City of Miami, Jpmorgan Chase, the Southeast Sustainability Directors Network, Regions Bank, and City National Bank. So thank you all so much for your support and partnership. With Keep Safe Miami, owners of affordable multifamily buildings in Miami-Dade County will have access to a suite of tools to self-identify vulnerabilities and develop mitigation strategies to strengthen your property's operations. In addition, there's even opportunity to have residents receive training on disaster preparation, as well as actions they can take to increase their energy efficiency and save on costs. First, we'll tackle the resilience of your buildings through Portfolio Protect and Building Protect. We'll also get a sneak peek at these tools during a short video in just a moment. These tools are designed to be implemented directly by property owners and managers, enabling you to self-assess your risks and vulnerabilities. The Enterprise Portfolio Protect tool helps owners, operators, and developers of affordable housing understand which properties are at highest risk from flooding, fire, earthquakes, and other natural hazards. With Building Protect, you will evaluate specific vulnerabilities of your properties to risks including flooding, extreme heat, extreme wind, and storm surge, and then identify resilience strategies at the building level through site assessments. Lastly, our funding guide will provide guidance on how to access capital for making those necessary upgrades to minimize the impact of weather events. The Enterprise Business Continuity Toolkit for Affordable Housing equips multifamily affordable building owners and managers with a plan to address crisis, helping you to minimize damage and ensure a quick return to operation, support the safety, preparedness, and recovery of residents, and maintain key business operations throughout a disaster. And then lastly, residents will be able to sign up to receive free training on disaster preparedness, as well as training on actions they can take to increase energy efficiency and save on costs through partnership with Communities United, Dream and Green, and the City of Miami CERT team. So we're now going to be able to watch a video, which will provide a sneak peek to the Building Protect tool, which is built by our partner, IBTS.
Enterprise community partners, the City of Miami, and other partners developed Keep Safe Miami to equip affordable multifamily property developers, owners, and operators with tools to assess their buildings' resilience to climate change and natural disasters, and provide them with actionable strategies and funding guidance to address these vulnerabilities. Enterprise has partnered with the Institute for Building Technology and Safety to build a tool to provide an easy-to-use, robust online interface for users to access Keep Safe Miami, called Building Protect with BitQM. Building Protect with BitQM incorporates hazards data specific to the region, allowing users to easily and confidently perform property-specific resilience audits. Once a user registers to participate in the Keep Safe program, they use the Portfolio Protect tool on their suite of buildings. Portfolio Protect will assess the buildings against current Miami hazard data to help the user determine which to prioritize. Once the user identifies a building to focus on, they sign into Building Protect with BitQM, where they can complete the building assessment. Upon logging in, your building record is already available and ready for you to begin the assessment. Open the intake dashboard and start answering questions. Once all answers are complete, simply submit your form for review. Your report will come back with highlighted risks and recommended strategies and guidance for improving the building's resilience. Building Protect with BitQM has several features that make it easy for users to identify and plan for building improvements. It is easily accessible on any tablet or computer, allowing you to use it where and when it is needed. It safely and confidentially stores all your project information in one place, including forms, results, and recommendations. Information can be easily organized according to each individual user's needs. You can manage multiple properties that are known as projects, and information related to each project can be stored and maintained among a variety of users. Guidance strategies are informative rather than prescriptive, allowing the user to develop solutions that are appropriate for them. Once you have completed the form, it will be submitted for review by IBTS for accuracy and completeness. You can easily share information such as reports, pictures, and plans with colleagues and other stakeholders. With report in hand, you're ready to start the most important phase, rehabilitating your building to protect it and keep residents safe. Building Protect with BitQM is available to registered Keep Safe Miami users. Apply for Keep Safe Miami at enterprisecommunity.org/Keep Safe Miami to help keep Miami safe for generations to come.
Thank you all. This was a preview of what you'll be getting in the Keep Safe Miami program, and we've put in the link to this program into the chat. Now we would like to officially open up the chat for the audience to ask questions, provide insights and commentary on this program. I'd like to now introduce Jim Murley, who is the Chief Resiliency Officer of Miami-Dade County.
Thank you, Laurie, and thanks for the introduction, and thanks to all the leaders and participants here today for helping lead our community forward in this critical topic. Keep Safe Miami is truly a coordinated effort, and Miami-Dade County is very proud to be part of this initiative. These subjects of resilience and housing are key to the agenda for Mayor Levine Cava, so she puts a great deal of importance on our participation. I want to add our thanks to the sponsors of this event, the Enterprise Community Partners, Jpmorgan Chase, who once more comes forward to help our community, Southeast Sustainability Network, Regions Bank, and City National Bank. We can't afford to view resilience as a standalone policy area. All policy in Miami-Dade is resilience policy. This is particularly true on how we think about our future for affordable housing, and the impacts of climate change and natural disasters will have on our ability to protect our residents. We want to be sure all residents are safe and protected from climate change. We want to be sure that it is cheaper to protect our affordable housing properties before the disaster strikes than have to repair and rebuild them after the storm event. As it stands today, Miami-Dade County is one of the nation's highest percentages of renters who spend more than half their income on housing. Keep Safe Miami will equip affordable housing owners and operators with tools to assess the building's resilience to climate change and natural disasters. It also will provide actionable strategies and guidance on financing to address these vulnerabilities. Keep Safe Miami is revolutionizing how we deal with the intersectionality between climate change and affordable housing. I want to thank everyone for collaborating in this effort. I look forward to the insights of the next speakers and the questions of those joining the call today. Thank you, Laurie.
Thank you, Jim Murley, for your leadership around Miami-Dade's resiliency and your partnership on this program. I'm now so happy to introduce Amy Knowles, Chief Resiliency Officer of Miami Beach.
Thank you so much, Laurie. I love that this program is about solutions to prepare for our climate risks and is ultimately about protecting people. I remember being about 5 years old and experiencing a flood so terrible that I had to jump in the front loader tractor to be rescued from our home. As a child, I found it really exciting to see water everywhere, and then devastating coming home to the damage. And for me, this is what resilience planning truly is. It's knowing the risks that we face in our communities and preparing to them in our homes and working hard to lessen that impact. 93% of Miami Beach's buildings are in the special flood hazard area, and we're incredibly at risk for sea level rise. We have to prepare, and it's programs like this that will pave the way. Miami Beach has been working very hard on resilience, leading with innovation for new properties through infrastructure like our dune system and our stormwater program, and most recently with groundbreaking solutions for our beautiful historic districts and our Buoyant City study. Miami Beach has 5 affordable housing properties that will participate in this program, and we also welcome the multiple affordable housing operators in Miami Beach to participate. So while we understand our risks, we need solutions, and this program is a huge step forward. These efforts are focused on making generational protections, not just for the here and now, but for tomorrow and the families who will be living in housing then. Miami Beach has also taken a huge step in recently dedicating more than $600,000 to create a private property resilience fund. On behalf of myself, Maria Ruiz, our Housing and Community Services Director, and the City of Miami Beach, we're so pleased to participate in the Keep Safe Miami program. Thank you so much to everybody that's worked so hard on this effort.
Thank you, Amy Knowles, Chief Resiliency Officer of Miami Beach, and thank you for stepping forward with that enormous commitment to helping housing providers and owners in Miami Beach. upgrade their facilities to be more resilient. Again, thank you for your contribution to this work and to your partnership. We look forward to working with you and all the owners and developers in Miami Beach. Now I'm so happy to transition to Alan Dodd, who is the Chief Resiliency Officer of Miami. Alan will lead a robust panel of experts and leaders involved in this program, including George Mensa, Director of Housing and Community Development for the City of Miami, Steve Kirk, CEO of Rural Neighborhoods, a leading affordable housing developer in Miami and the Keys, Hattie Willis, CEO of Communities United and a true champion for resiliency of residents across Miami, and I, Director of Enterprises Resiliency and Recovery Work, will be joining the panel as well. With further ado, Alan, please take it away.
Hey, thank you very much, Laurie. As Chief Resilience Officer for the City of Miami, it's great to be part of today's event, kicking off a really great program to help make our community more resilient. The panel today is made up of local affordable housing and resilience experts who will share their perspectives and experiences with housing affordability and resilience. Just over a year ago, we released the Miami Forever Climate Ready strategy to build a resilient and sustainable future by preparing for, adapting to, and mitigating climate risks. Closely aligned with the Resilient 305 strategy, the Miami Forever Climate Strategy recognizes the triple dividend of adaptation, avoided losses, economic benefits, and social and environmental benefits, and strives to change how we understand, plan for, and finance adaptation to reduce climate risk. We're now implementing that strategy through a number of resilience-related projects to protect every resident's home and ensure a bright future for all Miamians. Keep Safe Miami aims to do exactly that by expanding access to information and providing tools to assess and fund the resilience of vulnerable, affordable multifamily housing. As Mayor Suarez stated, the Keep Safe Miami program under the Miami Forever Climate Ready Goal 5 to promote adaptive neighborhoods and buildings, specifically by working with regional partners to develop private property assessment tools and an inventory of adaptation financing options for different existing building types, such as affordable multifamily, large commercial, small commercial, single family, and historic homes. The project also falls under our goals to strengthen our community's response to climate change and its impacts found within the Resilient 305 strategic plan. Goal 2, action number 37, is to prepare your property. So today we're really taking a big step forward towards helping the owners and residents of the most vulnerable buildings in the city to do just that. So let us begin today with George Mensa. George is the Director of Housing and Community Development for the City of Miami. So George, can you describe the city's affordable housing goals and priorities and discuss the importance of resilience in affordable housing? George, I think you're muted.
You are muted. Well, I'm happy to be part of this panel. The city's main housing goal is to rebuild our affordable housing share of total units from the current 20% to 25%. This means in the next 10 years, the city will assist in the construction and/or preservation of more than 32 housing units. Within this overarching goal is to harden and make resilient a larger percentage of the city's homeownership stock for low and moderate income households through the city's bond issuance, which is currently at $4 million. City will also increase the homeownership percentage from the current 30.6%, which is a very low percentage as compared to more than 60% across the country. I want to increase more of our units at lower income levels, which will be commensurate with actual incomes of our residents. We want to use zoning incentives to create more affordable housing units, and then also increase the flow of funds to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund through zoning. Now, when it comes to resilience in affordable housing, the City of Miami looks at resilience in affordable housing as very critical in our overall effort to solve the affordable housing crisis. We are focusing on enhancing affordable housing resiliency through the preservation of existing housing and ensuring that new housing construction includes resiliency in the design, which will also assist to prevent properties from becoming a casualty in a storm event. As you know, low-income residents are the least likely to afford to evacuate in a storm. That is why the city is requiring low-income and senior buildings in the city to have standby generators for elevators. There's also a push for the setting up of cooling rooms in apartment buildings and throughout the city in case of power outage during a storm.
So George, I understand the city has identified resources which participants of this program can apply to for implementation of mitigation strategies. Can you tell us more about what available resources there are and the application process?
Yes, the city of Miami has set up a Keep Safe Miami loan program, which was actually developed to provide affordable housing owners and operators with financial assistance to make improvements that will enhance the properties resilient to climate change and natural disasters. Even though the amount is very modest, the total is about $500,000. Maximum award to each property will be $100,000 per property, which can go up depending upon the needs of the property. Funds may be used to cover in part the cost of items included in the project mitigation strategy resulting from the evaluation of the project through the Keep Safe Miami Property Resilience Audit Tool. It will be a deferred 10-year loan. There will be no debt service required. Multifamily buildings participating in the program will be 20 units or less, and 51% of all units must be rented to low-income families. Obviously, there will be a mortgage, a restrictive covenant, and all other necessary documents will be needed to make sure that there's timely rehabilitation and there will be annual compliance of the program. Application will be available on our website shortly and it will be processed on first come, first ready, first served basis. As the mayor has indicated, we also have $100 million in affordable housing bond issuance, and the provision of this $500,000 does not prohibit any property owner who needs a lot more than the amounts that we're providing to apply through our pipeline application for our bond program.
Hey, thank you very much, George. What I'd like to do now is talk with Laurie Showman, the Director of Enterprise's National Resilience and Recovery Work. So Laurie, why should an affordable housing owner access these tools?
That's a good question, Alan. Why shouldn't an affordable housing owner access these tools? What we ask of the affordable housing owners and operators that join us in this effort is their time. We have gone to the expense of working with our partners like SSDN and Chase to build the leading edge tools that owners and operators need to understand their building's vulnerability to the climate risks that are present in Miami. Extreme heat, wind, flooding, and we're also including an attention to health through the program. So what we require of owners and operators is their time, the time of their staff, to really come to the table and dig deep into their buildings and understand what needs to improve in the buildings to ensure that those buildings are resilient. We're also working with Hattie in partnership with Green and Green to ensure that residents have the tools that they need to be resilient. And then further, we're providing support to the businesses themselves, the affordable housing owners, to build business continuity plans. This is at no financial cost to the owner and operator. In fact, this is one of the issues that we've seen throughout the industry, which is there's not a lot of reserve in a lot of our affordable housing buildings, which means there's not a lot of extra funding to go into things like pre-development, resiliency assessments, which is why we're putting this on the table for everyone to participate in. And what's really exciting about this program is there's funding for the owners and operators that use this tool and this program to make the retrofits necessary to improve their buildings and ensure that these buildings outlast storms and extreme heat and other hazards that will be befalling Miami and Miami Beach, and Miami-Dade. So why shouldn't owners participate in this program? Well, if you don't have the time to invest in your core assets, which is your buildings, your residents, and your businesses, then maybe this is an industry that will need more support, and we need more risk reduced for these buildings, because we know there's not enough affordable housing in Miami, Miami-Dade, Miami Beach, and this program seeks to preserve this housing from going away. So for every reason in the book, we believe that owners and operators of all buildings of affordable housing should participate in this program.
Oh, thank you. And can you explain a little bit about how Enterprise approached these tools differently than you have in past iterations?
That's a great question, Alan. Well, the story behind this tool goes all the way back to New York City, where we started working with lots of affordable housing owners after Superstorm Sandy. We went through hundreds of buildings across New Jersey and New York. We went through public housing and Section 202 and housing for older adults and supportive housing. And we started to look at what were the major needs of these buildings to ensure that they would be able to outlast another Sandy. We had buildings that were flooded, that were put out of commission for months, leaving so many New Yorkers and New Jerseyans stranded. And it was a terrible situation for so many that depended on this housing. So we started a program looking at this building very closely, and we built what we thought was one of the first resiliency assessments. This was about 8 years ago, for the multifamily building stock. And from there, we used those assessments and the findings and wove them into a guide for multifamily strategies. And then we launched the program in New York City with the New York Governor's Office of Storm Recovery and the Center for New York City Urban Neighborhoods. And the program at the time looked at the Northeast risks. And we piloted this program and came to understand what the qualities of particular building typologies were. And over the years, we've been able to improve upon that initial tool and bring it to Washington, D.C., where we worked with the city on a similar tool. But this is the latest and leading edge program because this is a do-it-yourself tool. We are not going to be sending in engineers to your buildings. We are providing you with a tool to self-assess. So for example, you'll be able to go into your buildings and literally walk through your building and self-assess at your own time and at your own, with your own people, your own staff, your building's vulnerabilities. So strangers will not be walking in your buildings. You can do this on your own. And what's really wonderful about this is a report will be generated without even touching or interfacing with an engineer and architect. You'll take that report, as the video said, and you'll bring it to your contractor, your architect of record. And what's wonderful about this program as well is the city is putting funding on the table for you. So this is a very different and much improved upon program, first of its kind, where we've got this beautiful and perfect blend of partners, tools, and resources, and as well as making sure that residents have what they need. So that's what makes this different, Alan, and what we think makes it vastly better than what has ever come before.
No, thank you very much. What I'd like to do now is to move to Steve Kirk, who's the president of Rural Neighborhoods. So Steve, can you tell me what's changed in your thinking about resilience in your portfolio over time and why it's changed? Oh, Steve, I think you're muted. Thank you.
Rural Neighborhoods is a nonprofit housing developer headquartered in Miami-Dade with 1,800 rental units. So we're practitioners. We have to be alert to these changes each and every day. We were born out of the aftermath of Hurricane Andrew, so resilience has been a cornerstone of much of our work. Nonetheless, some 10 storms later and ever-rising climate concerns, resilience now in the forefront of both our new development, our existing capital expenditures, and in acquisition rehab. Storms are stronger, insurance operating costs higher, and even the feasibility of built projects is a question mark. Unhealthy housing concerns become an increasing consideration.
So Steve, why do we need to address resilience in affordable housing rehab and new construction?
Well, the need for resilient measures in rehab of existing affordable housing unit arises from increasing storm strength and building age. Properties not in the wind-blown debris zones at the time of construction now seem far too close to Category 4 and Category 5 storms. Materials that have proved to fail in weaker storms, such as vinyl siding, demand replacement by hardy board or cementitious material. In new construction, site selection, given changes in flood zones, is given greater evaluation. Rural neighborhoods recently renegotiated the parcel boundaries of a site we had under contract to escape even planned FEMA map changes that would have showed buildings located in a V velocity zone. So we're trying to get in front of these issues and not be in a situation in which a completed building finds itself in an untenable condition, even when map changes are not enacted.
So with so many things that you need to consider, how do you prioritize which improvements to make?
It's tough. Improvements are prioritized in part by risk and in part by financial feasibility and and that's done portfolio wide. We maintain a list of desired improvements on each of our properties, and we match those with access to capital. You know, a roof replacement choice is a typical year 20 issue, regardless of resilience concerns. But today, the type of roof we might spec is going to address resilience, whether it's the materials, the underlayment, the fasteners. We're going to make those choices. But non-life cycle issues, such as perhaps generators to provide cooling space or improve drainage to reduce the risk of flooding, those are generally tend to be capital driven in terms of our prioritization. Those are not things that we've been putting monies into replacement reserves for. So as a consequence, the available sources dictate timelines. It's an unfortunate circumstance, but it proves that those who are practitioners need to be ever vigilant to financing opportunities.
And talking about financing, can you tell me about what type of financing resources you typically have access to when you're trying to make these type of improvements?
We look at everything. We try everything. Historically, federal HUD home funds, CDBG funds have been critical grant sources to our properties. We are active participants with Florida Housing Finance Corporation, and their funds have led to investment, particularly in those issues where we're doing acquisition rehab. And I think that I would say that our experience has shown that rehabilitation scheduled at acquisition is probably the most successful and practical opportunity to address climate change issues. It's a moment in which one's securing at least funds to assume debt or to create new debt, potentially re-syndicate properties. That's really the primary opportunity to tackle rehabilitation issues. And I think, as George mentioned before, when it comes to new construction, these are elements of initial planning. If one can't incorporate these issues in your new construction, then perhaps that new construction shouldn't go forward, because the economic life of these buildings puts those of us in Miami-Dade County in a completely different climate 30 years from where we are today, when those mortgages begin to expire, and 50 years later, clearly, when we still have land use restrictions guaranteeing that we will provide affordable housing to Miami-Dade citizens. So I think it's really a go, no-go decision in regards to new construction. And one just has to be ever vigilant for opportunities in rehabilitation.
No, thank you very much. That was really interesting. What I'd like to do now is shift to Hattie Willis, who is the Executive Director from Communities United. So can you tell us how climate change and natural disasters are impacting low-income Miami-Dade residents? What are the challenges that they're facing?
Right now, I say it's really hard. It's like a pandemic on top of a pandemic. The climate change has changed so drastically that in certain neighborhoods, it used to be there, it was not a flood zone. It's not considered a flood zone, but in these neighborhoods, the houses, the 60s, and some of them even in the 40s, now those homes have become in a flood zone. And that's because of the climate change. The direction is moving. So you have a shift in the weather pattern on top of the fact that we've had multiple hurricanes, which everyone has discussed. The roofs are unstable. The windows are in poor condition. And so it causes for mold, mildew, things of that nature in the housing. They cannot afford to pay the payments to make the money that they would need in order to do repairs. Second thing on top of that, if the house is not in a certain condition, then they can't get insurance. So they have another pandemic on top of that. The ones that are living in the affordable housing, that are living in the apartment complexes, you have lack of ventilation. If a disaster or hurricane or disaster does come, you need to come down lower than the 4th floor. They don't have the proper generators to house and facilitate a facility like that. And now that we have a pandemic, you did have to come down. You couldn't come because now we have the covert and you can't be in a room together. So you find yourself with layers. There's layers of each thing. And the one thing that's most sad of it is the houses that are being repaired and that are being repaired in the city and the county is their best to do it. There's no longer something called affordable housing. That's a problem. So now housing has to go up. The landlord has to raise prices because he's got to put this money inside of the house. So the people who are making low income wages are senior citizens. They're being impacted on the side of financial as well on the other side of not having the proper housing that they need.
No, thank you. And maybe could you discuss a little bit about how increasing the resilience of affordable multifamily buildings impacts those residents?
Increasing is an awesome, amazing thing. When I saw in my community, we just started this, and George, he knows this has been going on now about the last 18 years, where you see the multi-family housing, the towers being built. No one ever considered putting a resilience plan together about how you keep the people in those buildings safe. Because if the elevator and the air conditioner is not working, that's a problem. But if you can make it resilient and have the air conditioner and the elevator work, make a community room maybe on the 3rd or the 2nd floor that they can all come down and stay there and be in a safe zone, which would be in their building, what you would have in-place shelter. And in-place shelter would be amazing because that would keep them out of the streets, keep them safe until FEMA or whatever, the county or the city, anyone who's coming to help them can help them. And also the other part of that is FEMA could set up their program, doing their applications, the county, the city, right inside of the building, and the people would never have to leave the building. So to me, to make the building resilient, put a proper air condition, put a proper elevator, put proper space in there, put a full facility kitchen, that would save Dade County a lot of money. And I always say it's better to be proactive than to be reactive, because you're going to pay more money on the back if you don't do it on.
No, thank you very much. And I'd like to say thank you to all of the members in this panel. It was a lot of really great information.
Great, thanks, Alan. And thanks to our panel. We did get some questions throughout, and we're not gonna have time to get to all the questions, but I just want to answer a few, and I think Alan picked one to you. So first, just a couple that we did answer in the chat as well. The training program, this Keep Safe Miami program, is available for affordable housing owners, specifically multifamily owners and operators across all of Miami-Dade County. So that includes all jurisdictions within. Second, we had a question around how resilience measures are to be financed, given the problem of financial benefits. So this is a real challenge. We have developed a funding guide with all of our partners, which do highlight those available resources that are out there now. And of course, we heard today from the City of Miami and Miami Beach about resources they've identified specifically to address mitigation needs and properties. The reality is that there are very limited resources for mitigation. We're hopeful that we'll start to see more federal resources that will be targeted towards this work. Another question was around what resources are available for residents who want to understand particular risks given their location in the city. I want to highlight two, one being the Enterprise Portfolio Protect tool. If you go to enterprisecommunity.org /Keep Safe Miami, you can link to this tool. Anyone can access this tool at any time. You can enter your address and receive a report highlighting risks and vulnerabilities. In addition, the University of Miami has released an additional layer on their MAP affordability project, which has data related to sea level rise and climate change. That was also supported by Jpmorgan Chase and is an amazing tool. So I recommend folks check that out too. Alan, I'm gonna ask you one question before we then fully close out. We had a question from the City of Boston. As part of the city permit process, project teams for waterfront properties and those located in flood zones need to complete a climate resiliency checklist when they have to lay out design strategies. Does the City of Miami have a framework such as that, a checklist for new construction or rehab that folks take into account?
Well, we don't have a final checklist, but we do go through a lot of the pieces that would be part of that, looking at sea level rise implications, looking at seawall design, and how the stormwater system would help to protect those buildings. It is a very iterative process that we involve our planning department, the zoning department, police and fire and others to look holistically at any new development to make sure that it's built in a resilient way.
Great. Well, thanks, Alan, and thanks to our panel. Just gonna close us out now. Yep, we're coming up. There we are. Just thank you again, everyone, for joining us today for the launch of Keep Safe Miami. Please visit enterprisecommunity.org /Keep Safe Miami to register for the upcoming training webinars and to apply to assess your affordable multifamily building using the Keep Safe Miami tools. We'll have 2 introductory trainings, March 4th and 24th, with the same content, and please plan to register to attend one of those trainings. I next want to thank the entire team who helped us bring this work to bear. Couldn't have done it without all of these folks, from our funders to our local partners to our consultant team partner, IBTS, who helped us to actually develop these tools. And again, just a reminder to visit this website. It's in the chat as well. And also, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me, Sarah Haas, shaas@enterprisecommunity.org. We will also follow up with the questions we weren't able to get to today. We know we had some other great ones, and so we'll make sure to send responses out to all the folks who attended the webinar. So thank you again to all of our speakers, our presenters, our funders and partners, and all the attendees, and we look forward to working with everyone as the program kicks off. Thanks all.